And what we have seen in my career, I've had the privilege of attempting 200 products in my career, 30 are in the market. Here, I can see about 25 people in this room at least using one of my products. And I'm guessing that at least 50 have used another of my products somewhere in your life, and everybody has used one of them sometime in this. So the product that everybody, 25 people have is the stiffener inside your collar. 1/3 of the stiffeners are made from the lab where I was. 25 you should be using Bodini at some point. And almost everybody has used Ganesh. So these are, so we've always tried to, I have a great sympathy for outliers, only because I've tried to be an outlier in my career and I've only passed about 5 times out of 200 attempts in blockbusters, 30 times to make it now. So that's the quote, that I think you dream big, but you have grounded it in some core science, a reasonable chance of success. Scalability, different matter, we'll come to it later.
Okay, being a little more direct now, Karthik, so there are all these new technologies that keep getting announced. Some very, very outstanding at times. There are times when you don't know whether to, is it sarcasm? Is someone just making a joke? Is it an April Fool's joke? Because sometimes you end up looking at the character and it's just December. But like, how do you distinguish between wild marketing claims and very validated performance data? How do you know whether something's actually going to be there or not?
So this is a question that we've talked about like, a lot of times. Right? I mean, I keep speaking with Apoorv about what do you think of this, because these are my theories about it. So for instance, like, at the risk of naming names, let's talk about Donut Lab, which came out recently, right? The donut battery, which is basically a 400 watt-hour per kilogram. I think 100,000 cycles. And then basically everything on the topic, which basically wants you to kind of sell your right, can you kind of buy one of these batteries. It's not in the market, right? So when things like that come in, we basically kind of go down to the sniff test, right? So it's in 3 different stages. And I think I'm actually kind of fairly qualified to speak about this because I work for Quantum Scale. I was the cell system architect over there, right? And I know for a fact that like a lot of it is hype. So when you really look at, let's say, the battery market, the signal to noise ratio is basically just 1%, right? And so consequently, your companies which succeed is probably much less than that as well, right? So we have a 3-pronged approach. Right? So one, we actually look at the trifecta. So energy versus life versus power. I mean, energy versus, yeah. Right? I would say, giving equal weightages of like 1 each, you can get to maybe 1.5, 2, right? Not more than that. If somebody claims that like all 3 of them are possible, like, just don't touch them with a 20-foot pole. That's the first one. Second is there are some kind of scenarios which kind of make you think that some of them would be possible. For instance, at Quantum Scale, we had like the Avengers of the battery world, right? So everybody in the grandfathers were there, right? It's like when you have people from A123, like Stanford, MIT, all of these people. So when they actually claim numbers of let's say 1500 watt-hour per kilogram, you start kind of thinking with your scientific brain and you're like, okay, so yeah, maybe it is possible. But then when you get down in the physics of it, you know that it's probably about 20% of that. Still a big achievement. And third, I think chemistry for all practical purposes, because it's governed by China, it's likely to be incremental for the foreseeable future. Right? So most of the, as we were talking about, it's only a parameter change, but the incremental things come from innovation, like challenging the status quo. What these guys are doing right now, like looking at the cell design and then figuring out was everything about this is wrong. Like, why would you keep doing it because the market is asking for more, right? So that is another. And then of course, it follows with scalability and stability. Scalability is more of like an economics manufacturing question. Stability is, can you keep doing it for a long period of time, right? So for instance, we were actually putting out a 12 system at Quantum Scale at one point of time, right? So it was working beautifully. It did one exactly, right? And we cycled for let's say 1,500 cycles, 98.5% capacity retention, but then we were not able to replicate. So these are things that we could want. Of course, ultimately, if it comes out in the market, what you were talking about, perform some advanced chemical tests on it, going all the way to dissection, figure out if it is all hype or if there is some element of truth to it.
No, so the reason why I said I'm putting out my